Amigos,
Dear friends, let me introduce you to GeneXus 15. This is the new version that was released early this morning. Now, before introducing you to it, I would like to show you some definitions or descriptions of my colleagues from GeneXus 15. Digital transformation is inevitable. You have to focus on two things, on your business and on technology. It means to update your equipment all the time. One thing has to be done, and this has to be done through integration to create new functionalities. With GeneXus, we have avoided difficulties because we are based on pure knowledge. At the time when software is invading the world, we can help you out. It introduces all the technology available, even the needs of our clients. There are many things around apps. For user interface, there is a question of web interface. We are closer to the incremental development. GeneXus 15 empowers our digital assets in our database and the data that we use. GeneXus as a company is presenting a tool that responds to the concept of technological security. It's a modern technology to increase our functionalities. Well, in the next few minutes, I will be expanding these previous definitions, and I will tell you about the good things and the novelties of GeneXus 15 to inspire visions or to see and envisage new opportunities. And that's the case of all this event. We will be talking about GeneXus 15 and how easy it is to develop new solutions with GeneXus 15 or to change your apps to take advantage of GeneXus 15. In other words, it is very simple to change, to simplify change with GeneXus 15. Now, GeneXus 15 lies within a certain reality, and that's the reality. What we can see is that GeneXus 15, let's see reality first. What we can see is that there are many systems that are making use of their own data. These are things that are already installed in your companies. Now, these systems at present are unthinkable if we think about them are always integrated with external systems. Now, on the other hand, every day you are obtaining new functionalities or you are requiring new functionalities and wanting to implement new ones. You need them for your everyday lives and you read them fast and quick. Now, these new solutions are envisaged, are seen as a mobile or as a web system that will get to your users, whether they are your customers or your colleagues. And that's where GeneXus 15 is. GeneXus 15, as such, strengthens and conceptualizes this reality and strengthens development. It strengthens and promotes digital transformation. It strengthens your digital assets. It allows you to integrate your systems to develop and focus on your users, and all this in an incremental manner. That's what I'm going to be talking about and going deeper in. So the first issue, the first item is to promote digital transformation. How can we do this? Well, by strengthening our digital assets. There are very many, but I'll be referring to two specifically. The first one has to do with a capacity to describe the business and to get those descriptions and visions of reality to your knowledge data. That's one of your main assets, and the better they are described, the more knowledge, the more pure knowledge you can add to that knowledge data, GeneXus will be able to infer solutions on that basis. On the other hand, and focusing on solutions, it's quite clear that the other fundamental assets is data. With GeneXus, we have dealt with data very particularly. We know those are your main goals, and then GeneXus 15 strengthens that even more. Let's see how. We are facilitating modeling, giving more opportunities specifically in the following areas. We are strengthening our objects par excellence, that is, automatic data initialization. We are allowing you to write more through it and to avoid programming, procedural programming, and to move more into the description of your business visions. And by strengthening this transaction, we'll be able to infer better solutions. With a special configuration, you're able to automate your initialization, data initialization process. You can describe it, and then GeneXus automatically generates data initialization programs. Then, with another special configuration, by modeling transactions in a special manner, GeneXus also generates better final solutions. Not only the solution as such, but also a better physical model through this concept called dynamic transactions. It generates SQL views. So we strengthen the model, and as you may know, when you describe the most, the better inference tool you can get, and better solutions as well. So let us look at data. We can see a strong increase of geographical data. Most certainly this happens to you. Any app that you download is asking you for your location. So it's already trying to store a geographical data. This is very easy in GeneXus 15. You've got a new type of geographical data, and there it takes advantage of DMS, because DMS know how to store this type of geographical data, and they also know how to do complex operations on the basis of those data. So in GeneXus, you've got a new type of data. You can store points, dots, polygons, and do operations with it. On the other hand, we have worked strongly with SAP, specifically with a new DMS in GeneXus. The support SAP HANA DB is a reality, so you can build solutions for SAP HANA or that work in the SAP HANA cloud, and whether they are integrated or not with ERP of SAP, they can work and make use of the MS with certain characteristics, certain features that make it highly valuable. It is thought out for the cloud, that's its scalability, and many other things. It is thought out specifically to store large data volumes. So large opportunities here, because SAP welcomes all the community to make new developments, integrating them in their cloud. And here we are now talking about clouds. With GeneXus 15, we generate native solutions for the cloud. We have worked a lot on preparing our generators so that the solutions that you develop are ready to be run in the cloud. What clouds? Which clouds? How does this work? Well, in the first place, applications with GeneXus 15 work with all these platform generators. You have them there on the screen. We have invested hours of development and research so that your solutions run well in these platform providers. This highlights the capacity of class platform of GeneXus. This gives you a lot of freedom as a developer community and to all of us. It gives us enormous freedom once again. On the other hand, these solutions are not simply executing this, it also takes advantage of the virtues of those cloud providers offer, and so it gives great performance and scalability. Any systems with GeneXus 15 can be integrated to the database services that they offer. Not only the traditional database services that we know through GeneXus, but also with others that scale even more and are designed to be installed and scale in the cloud, like Aurora in Amazon. Then web solutions can be scaled and they are designed to be able to scale flexibly. You can use storage services to store multimedia images a click away instead of doing it in your own database. And talking about scalability, we are also adding the caching services that these cloud providers offer, caching that is distributed. So we've got experience there in the application of the Mexican League, but thanks to this caching functionalities, we can scale 10 times more. We are using 10 times fewer servers thanks to this caching included in the application. Could, as Gaston Milano said, this is being used by 3 million users. Now, applications must be able to have a dialogue and integrate with the users. That's why it's important to notify users when there are any novelties. GeneXus 15 are ready so that through these services, they can send out thousands of notifications per second. Now, it's not just placing it there, it's not running it there, it's not just taking advantage of those virtues, but it's also deploying solutions. We've seen in the past few years that the architecture of solutions created are more and more complex. That is why we are focusing not only on developing the solutions that you develop through GeneXus, but that you can easily deploy them. And there we've got 3 announcements to make. The first one is that with GeneXus 15, you can package binaries and resources a click away and take them to your local server. This is good for Java, it's good for .NET. Now, it's not enough to do some packaging in case you want to publish your app in any of the cloud providers. Just with one click away, you're not only packaging, but you are deploying it to the cloud, adding the necessary credentials. We also know that when you publish an app in production, it's not only publishing its binaries or resources. That's why we are providing a third solution, full solution to deployment, solving out publication and management of your apps in the cloud. It's a full solution. This means that it solves the whole cycle a click away. You can upload all the app, initialization of database, and so on, and it helps you to manage those versions in production. Tomorrow morning, we are going to be talking in detail about these solutions. Well, each one of the dots and issues I've been talking about will be discussed in detail in this event. As I said early this morning, we work on security strongly so that GeneXus 15 generates the most secure solutions. We have worked on our GAM, our security model. We have also strengthened our web generators at the server side and on the client side in browsers or in native apps, and also traffic. To improve traffic, it has an impact on two things, on performance and on security. So we have improved all our code generators to provide more security. Now, talking about renewal, with GeneXus 15, you have a full technological update in all battlefronts. We have talked about the server side, but on the client side as well, specifically for all those of you developing for iOS, GeneXus 15, instead of it's producing Swift. It's for the latest language that Apple is recommending to write in your codes. You needn't do anything. Your iOS application, you generate it again, and it's generated in Swift, and it follows Apple's recommendations. You needn't do anything, just generate the same. Now, the same thing happens with the latest versions of devices. Apps in GeneXus 15 are ready to run in GeneXus 10, Android 7, and so on. My next bullet point refers to the need to integrate our solutions. We know that apps are everywhere at present. Now, to say that we have to interact easily with apps, with news about Internet of Things and services such as Watson is true. But it's also to minimize matters. We really need to integrate our solutions with any other solution. And therefore, we have worked on several issues. The first one, and the most important one, is that your apps, your REST services in your systems are automatically described with GeneXus 15 with OpenAPI. This means that other people, other programs can read your descriptions and infer automatically how to interact with your services. So integration is facilitated a lot towards your services. And the other way around is just the same. When you need to consume third-party services, if those services are described with OpenAPI, it's a world and standard, well adopted. You simply enter GeneXus, the description of the service, and GeneXus will provide the type of data that you need to be integrated. Another important point in integration is your integration in the community. Right now, with GeneXus 15, we have the possibility of sharing modules. How can we do this? Well, we share knowledge, we preserve privacy, the privacy of your code, and all this is to simplify understanding, the understanding that you can make with your own knowledge base. How is this done? Well, you start developing something, you have a module, you share it. Where do you share it? All right, you either share it in the marketplace for the entire community, or you share it in your company for your colleagues, and then your colleagues import that module and start working on that module. Now, what is it that is traveling? Well, the API of the module travels, not the implementation, but the API of the module, and binaries in resources generated by that module in C#, Java, Android, whatever. So the importer has already got the module definitions. It can use the module, but it does not have to generate the entire code. Sylvia and Etienne will talk about this later on this afternoon. Now, we also said that, in fact, we want to develop things more quickly, and we want to focus on our users. If we are user-centered, we're talking about user experience. The experience our users have in relation to each one of the contact points with us, specifically with our apps. To that end, we have worked a lot on various fronts. We have worked to simplify matters, to share a great user experience by default, to grant flexibility so that users can obtain the experience they want, and lastly, to improve the modeling of the user experience. By default, solutions are generated responsive to GeneXus 15, and to that we have another thing is the Carmine, and the pattern has been adopted. So in a predetermined manner, by default, you have apps with that look following the latest guidelines for users, and they are responsive to any device, as small, as big one, tactile, or not. Now, talking about being able to have access to an application by web or web mobile, we have worked a lot on providing new controls so that these controls and the entire application that you're developing can provide a good user experience in a big screen or in a small screen, whether it's tactile or not. This is part of a presentation by Nicolas Cardellino. He made an app. As you can see there, you have a menu, and there you have a grid. That's a list of videos. As you can see, when you expand the screen, the application accommodates itself and shows what's pertinent to that screen size. The menu changes its look depending on how it shows. And there we have done it with several controls. We have added new controls. We've worked a lot on flexibility. And for instance, the date picker in iOS and Android, you have the native controls. We're taking maximum advantage of devices also on the web. We have worked on accessibility, and we have added to the efforts made by the governments and different organizations to obtain a larger inclusion. We have accessible solutions in GeneXus 15 that you can personalize and follow the standards available. On the other hand, we've got more and more data visualization, or to visualize them in a different manner. There is a large number of new sensors. If we want to understand the data provided by all the sensors, we'll need graphs such as the ones you can see on the screen. That's a timeline. That one is showing you the sound variabilities that the sensor is recording along the time. And you can interact with that graph, or you can mark certain ranges. And we think that the timeline is going to be one of the graphs used the most in the near future, because it's trying to interpret data from sensors and to make dashboards. We've also worked on adding new graphs, such as this one, showing sales of different grains per region, or the latest one, and please pay attention to this one. It is showing a figure, just showing a figure, but also a trend. This is particularly useful for dashboards. In the same way, we are working on the visualization of consultations. We are also working on refreshing the user interface. We've also worked in the same way I've shown, in all the things we've done with web and web mobile. We did the same with the smart devices. The apps that you have in your pockets from this meeting were done with GeneXus 15. The Mexican League was also in GeneXus 15. Some applications mentioned here are in GeneXus 15. So this version is ready to be used and will save a lot of money so that you'll be able to generate the user experience that you want.
Con respecto al ahorro de trabajo, nosotros hemos trabajado en el IDE de GeneXus 15.
We have renewed our look. Everything that involves responsive solutions has been improved, which was not that good in the previous version. It's facilitated now. And we have shortened the roads of developers. So to generate end functionalities, small functionalities that help you in a daily basis, in the daily life of developers, so that things can be done more quickly. For instance, if you are editing a control, you can also edit the class of control. These are small technicalities, small things, but developers are repeating them every day, and you can do it more quickly. Now, when a developer is developing something and you want an incremental development, then we have worked on the following, and you know that incremental development is one of the strong points of GeneXus since time immemorial. And this has been strengthened in GeneXus 15. We've got improvements for team development. We have shortened prototyping cycles, and in some cases, we've even eliminated them. Let's see how. At teamwork level, we've improved the interface of a GeneXus server, the console, and another reality is that many of you, when you are developing something, you are developing several functionalities at the same time. So you'll be able to group the functionalities in order to make a general thing, and you can group them to understand changes better. We've also added the functionality of making partial commits, just part of the code, or in a very detailed manner on a line what has changed. In order to shorten prototyping cycles, when you are editing, there is already a code being generated. You're specifying the code. We've used new technologies to generate codes to shorten cycles, and particularly iOS and Android cycles. You will see that the compilation performance has improved a lot. So we have worked so that GeneXus 15 results are obtained much more easily and more quickly, and obtain excellent results. We have talked about shortening prototyping cycles. Why don't we eliminate them? That's why we have live editing. You can see the changes, visualize the changes while you are editing. Now, when you say this and when I gesture it with my hands, it's not very practical. Let me ask a friend to explain to you how this development looks. Right from time immemorial, it doesn't matter what type of art we talk about, creators always needed to feel their works of art. If it's a sculpture, he needs to touch it. If it's a painter, it needs to see it. A musician needs to listen to it.
Sin embargo, creando aplicaciones.
However, by creating applications, there is a distance between how we work and the result we obtain. In fact, when we create applications, some of us think about design or about code or about pure abstraction.
Lo que pasa es que el mundo digital donde se crea
The digital world where software is created, the passage of feeling has been lost, and we work in a place between the world of ideas and the world of bits. An application is a very complex work where the user touches it in some way. And so we wonder, what would happen if we could feel our application while we create it? What would happen if we could touch it? Why can't we mold it as we go on, to shape it as we make it? And we told ourselves, why not? That is why we created live editing in GeneXus, so that you can feel the application while you are making it, so that you can change with your hands as any artist would do. GeneXus with live editing allows you interaction levels that were absolutely impossible to think about earlier. You can create something and see it immediately in your application. And the best thing of all, you can change your application in your device, and those changes are introduced in the GeneXus model automatically. With live editing, you can create better user experience with an agile, interactive, and incremental development, as any true artist would do, feeling your application as you are making it. GeneXus with live editing. Dream like a child, work as an artist, create applications as a professional.
Muchas gracias. ¿Qué más decir?
Thank you very much. What else can I tell you? With GeneXus 15, we encourage digital transformation, strengthen digital assets, integrate much better, and develop applications focusing on the user and in an incremental manner. In other words, with GeneXus 15, you obtain the results much faster. And in other words, you simplify change. Thank you very much.